News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
An accidental shooting death in a tiny western Montana town. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It is Friday, June 26, 2015. And we're on the cusp of what could be a record-breaking heat wave coming into western Montana, which we'll get to here in just a moment. Right now, it's 55 degrees. The sky is clear throughout western Montana. Beautiful morning. And our newscast is sponsored by AB Technology Solutions, where they offer backup and disaster recovery, remote support and monitoring. You visit them online at abtechnologysolutions.com. The tiny western Montana town of Hot Springs is making headlines this morning as Sanders County Sheriff Tom Rummel explains.
The Sanders County Sheriff's Office is investigating an accidental fatal shooting that took place on Little Bitterroot Road that's outside of Hot Springs. This occurred approximately 9 p.m. last night. At this time, I can't release any names as we have an active investigation going.
Hot Springs is a town of about 600 residents located on the Flathead Reservation in Sanders County. Montana has given up on barring corporations from the political arena and is instead attempting to expose every penny spent by them. State leaders began crafting the expansive new election law back in 2012 after the Supreme Court cited its earlier Citizens United decision granting free speech rights to corporations as the basis to throw out a century-old Montana law that limited corporate election spending. State Commissioner of Political Practices Jonathan Motel said yesterday the new law enacted earlier this year allows corporations and committees to speak in elections, but now they also have to say how much they're spending, what's being spent on, and where the money came from. Motel's office says Montana is one of the first states to require that level of disclosure. The Supreme Court's 6-3 King v. Burwell decision yesterday will allow Affordable Care Act subsidies to continue to flow to states that did not set up their own exchanges. The decision brought praise and disdain from various sectors of Montana politics. Here's Montana Senator Steve Daines.
Well, Obamacare is a poorly written law that is failing the American people. And I'm going to continue working to repeal this failed law and replace it with Montana-driven solutions that will increase access to affordable care for all Montanans and put patients first.
Congressman Ryan Zinke continued that note, claiming that Obamacare, quote, simply doesn't work, end quote. On the other side of the aisle, Democrat Governor Steve Bullock very happy with the decision, saying, quote, it's a welcome decision as I do everything I can to ensure all Montanans have access to affordable health care. 40,000 Montanans can now be sure they will not lose their health insurance or have their taxes increased in order to maintain coverage. Now, with that in mind, spokeswoman Jennifer McKee for Montana Insurance Commissioner Monica Lindeen said that she was relieved that now 41,000 Montanans will still have their subsidies. McKee said the vast majority of those covered by the Affordable Care Act do receive federal subsidies to help pay their premiums.
In Montana, 85% of the folks who buy their health insurance through healthcare.gov get a federal health insurance tax credit. That's 41,766 people. The average tax credit is $230 per person who's insured. So if it was you and your spouse, it would be $460 a month.
McKee said the Supreme Court issue put millions of health care dollars at stake for Montana.
In 2015, that brings in $9.6 million a year into Montana's insurance market and also into Montana's health care market. And that's where a lot of that money is going, is to pay doctors and hospitals and other providers. So the yearly impact in Montana is just a little over $115 million.
Lindeen said the decision's one more thing that health care providers and insurers will not have to worry about. Search and rescue teams rescued a family of 10 from Texas after they got lost during a hike in the rugged mountains of southwestern Montana. Beaverhead County Sheriff Franklin Klusner told the Montana Standard newspaper that two boys, ages 13 and 14, hiked several miles for help on June 19th, 2 days after the family got lost in the mountains near Wisdom. They were out of food and water by the 18th and resorted to drinking stream water. Klusner says a 41-year-old man and the boys caught frogs, cooked and ate them on the morning of the 19th, and then headed for help. The man collapsed along the way. A rancher spotted the boys. Searchers found the man and then his wife and 6 other children. Officials say the entire family was sick from drinking unsafe water. A man suffered chemical burns and other injuries in the explosion of a methamphetamine lab in an apartment attached to a Bozeman motel. Police Captain Jim Veldkamp said the victim called 911 about 7:45 Wednesday night to report the explosion. Officers say the man had injuries to his torso and arms and chemical burns on his face. The man's name was not released. Police in Missoula still looking for 2 men who attempted a robbery in downtown Missoula Tuesday afternoon, according to Public Information Officer Travis Welch. The victim was walking out of a business with a bank bag when 2 men approached him.
One of them actually engaged him in conversation, and it appears now that was perhaps a distraction. And the other male approached and tried to grab the bank bag out of his hands. According to the complainant or the victim, he was able to hang on to the bag and wrestle it out of the hands of the other suspect.
The victim was not injured. The 2 men have not yet been identified. Welsh did give this brief description.
They were both Native American males. They appeared to be transients and were between 5'8", 6 feet tall, with black hair and brown eyes.
Anybody with more information should contact Detective Sean Manraska from the Missoula Police Department, 552-6300. A 70-year-old man was killed in a single-vehicle crash on I-90 in Bighorn County. The highway patrol said the crash occurred just before 12:30 a.m. Tuesday south of Crow Agency on the Crow Indian Reservation. The victim was identified as Albert Chavez Jr. of Hardin. Mr. Montana will be experiencing record heat for an extended period this weekend through the 4th of July, and Northwestern Energy officials say they're ready for the demands on the power grid. Spokesman Butch Larkham said the heat wave will basically just be another day at the office.
Well, we don't think there's any risk of us not being able to supply electricity to help people run their air conditioners or anything like that. I think we're in pretty good shape. One thing in Montana, at least in parts of Montana, a lot of people don't even have air conditioning, so they're probably just going to be sweating through it.
Larkham addressed the reduced flow in Montana rivers and streams and how it might affect the area's hydroelectric generating capacity.
There may be some reduced generation, but that's something that we can forecast ahead of time too and make accommodations for and tap other sources of electric generation. So it's probably not going to be an issue for us. We do a lot of forecasting. We pay a lot of attention to river levels, and we know what our demand is, and we know what we're able to produce. And we've been pretty fortunate to be able to kind of make those two match up.
The National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory from 2 p.m. Saturday to 11 p.m. Sunday. Here's part of what it says. If you're going to be outdoors, be prepared for some of the hottest weather ever recorded in the month of June. Drink plenty of water, take frequent breaks, and rest in the shade when needed. Although mountain areas will be quite warm as well, valley locations will experience the greatest impact from the hot weather. Our News Talk time, 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Plenty of sunshine today with our high temperatures in the mid-90s. Clear tonight with our lows in the 60s. Ample sunshine this weekend with our highs right around 100. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for Missoula's KECI 13.